Welcome back into my kitchen remodel. Things are coming along really well. So far we've already done the flooring, we've installed the countertop as well as a new apron front sink, and we've showed you how to paint. Today we're going to show you how to install a mosaic tile backsplash, getting everything you need at Menards, so stay tuned. Here are all of the supplies you're going to need to do this install. You can find all of these at Menards or on menards.com. The links to these products are in the description below. So first things first, what we're going to want to do is kill the power so we can back the screws out of those outlets and we'll have more space to operate around. After we've killed the power, we're going to apply this protective film to our countertops. It's going to keep us from getting any sort of grout or mortar, any scuffing on there from the tiles. Just keep them nice and protected, and then we'll be able to dry fit our tile for the space and just see how everything lays out. So we've got all of our sheeting laid out to protect our countertops. As you can see, we threw some painter's tape behind the faucet there just because it's a little bit of a tricky area. Did that in a few corners as well. Now we're ready to dry fit our tile, measure our space before we do any cutting. So before we get too far into dry fitting all this, I just kind of want to go over why I chose this mosaic here. And we got this beautiful mosaic. It's got stone and glass, and it kind of ties everything together. So it's actually the perfect height to match the distance between the top of our countertop and our cabinets. So we're not going to have to do any vertical cutting with any of it. So that's what's going to be really convenient with this backsplash. So we're going to extend our level lines all the way across the space, and then we're going to pre-cut all of these individual mosaics at the top and bottoms, those little half tiles, so we can really get moving once we start putting our mortar on. So we just got done cutting a bunch of these smaller half mosaics to fill in at the top and bottom of our tile. We got into a really nice rhythm by pre-taping them all. We found really helped reduce chip out on the glass and the ceramic. We pre-taped all of the individual ones, and then we got them lined up on our wet saw, and then we dropped the level on them and drew the line on all of them simultaneously. Then we were able to just run them through the saw one after the other and get really consistent cuts. So that worked out great for us, and now we're ready to start mortaring. We've also got our V-notch trowel here. This is a 3/16 inch. It's gonna depend on what type of tile you have, what they recommend for which type of trowel to use. So make sure you look at the manufacturer's notes on those before you choose one. But what we're just gonna do is we are going to use a separate putty knife here, and we're gonna load up our trowel, holding it at a 45-degree angle. You just want to make sure that you get good coverage with your mortar. You need to cover all of the space because you're going to have those little pieces in the corner and you're really going to need something to grab onto. So if you go a little bit outside of your area, you can just go back with a wet rag and make sure you clean that off. But you don't want to leave any areas uncovered. So we've got good coverage with our mortar. Now what we need to do is go back with firm pressure and put some ridges in with the V-notch trowel. We're going to come at it at a 45-degree angle. And like I said, you need to push hard because you want to remove a good portion of that mortar. And I'm just going to use my putty knife to pull that off. Remove that mortar. And those ridges are going to help your tile stick appropriately. We're just doing small sections at a time because the mortar can dry pretty quick. So we'll do a small workable area and then we will apply our tile and then keep on moving. And we are going to wriggle that into place. And I'm just gonna apply a little bit of up and down motion on that. And then I'm just gonna make sure I'm up because I'm going to drop spacers in underneath. And I'm just gonna back butter some of these littler tiles too, just to help make sure those stick. And then any mortar that you get onto the face of the tile, you're gonna wanna make sure you get cleaned off right away. And we got our second panel here. and you're just gonna wanna make sure that your spacing between the two is equal. And then we've got a grout float here too. Just apply even pressure with the grout float. So I just went out and I cut all of these little individual tiles from the mosaic, and now I've got them dry fit here in position just so when I apply my mortar, I can know exactly where they need to go. So I'm going to, for some of these smaller areas, just apply a little bit of mortar with this putty knife. And then I'm gonna come out the width of my tile here and apply this single tile, because I'm gonna have to make some more cuts again around this sink. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. The key is small bits at a time. This is going to screw back in here, and I'm going to need to get longer screws so it'll seat out on top of the tile here. But the faceplate will then cover all of that, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so we just got that last piece of mosaic in. We're going to keep working our way across the room, measuring and cutting around the trim and any outlets, and then we'll allow the mortar to dry overnight, and then we'll come back in the morning and seal. Welcome back. We allowed our mortar and tile to dry overnight, and now we are going to be able to rake any of the exposed mortar out of the joints. I don't have a whole lot in there. Did a good job of trying to keep that out of there in the first place, but if you do see any coming out of the joints, you're going to want to use this nice tool here and go through and rake that out. One other thing worth mentioning is this tile edge here that we have that you can see here. I put on the top, and we've also put it at the sides. Any place we have exposed mosaic, it does a great job of covering up any imperfection because there's not a factory edge on this, especially when you're cutting all of these little pieces. So it gives you a good uniform edge, prevents you from seeing any sort of mesh or chip out. So we got done removing all of the extra mortar with that tool and removing all of our spacers throughout the entire room. So now what we're going to do is apply this grout release sealer. So this sealer, what it's great for, not only does it prep it for the grout to make it easier to remove from the tile, but it prevents the stone, which is porous, from staining from the grout. So we are going to just pour a little bit here. I'm just gonna dab in this microfiber cloth here. And we will leave this on for about 3 to 5 minutes before we go back with another clean microfiber cloth to remove any hazing. So we waited our 3 to 5 minutes, and now we're ready to go back and buff the surface of the tiles with a clean, dry towel. Not using the same one as before. I'm just getting any of the excess sealer off of there. Welcome back. We allowed our sealer to cure overnight, and now we're ready to start the grouting process. Before we did that though, we just made sure we got all of our surfaces taped off and sealed off so we don't get any grout residue on there, because it is a stain and it will stain your painted surfaces. We've also got our trims taped off as well. But now that we've got that done, we're ready to start mixing our grout. So we've got our power grout here, which is what we're going to be using for this installation, and this is a fast drying grout. You do need to mix it, but the advantages of it is that there are many color options. I've also got some sponges here, which we're gonna use when we wipe the grout off the face of the tile. And then we've got our water prep, the exact amounts that we need. So you're gonna add the water first and follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. We are going to then pour in our mix. I'm gonna do that gently. And it's really recommended to use a power mixer to get this good and mixed up. So as we wait for this to slake 3 to 5 minutes, that's going to just allow all of the chemical reactions within the grout to take effect. So we'll wait our 3 to 5 minutes on that, and then we are going to mix it again for another 30 seconds. We're all mixed up, so I'm ready to start applying my grout. I've got my grout float What I'm just gonna do is make sure that I pack the joints at a 45-degree angle. You're gonna wanna get as much of the grout off of the face because you're gonna come sponging back with water once you get it all on. All right, so I just got done grouting all of the joints on this one wall and removing that surface grout with my float. It's about 15 to 30 minutes or so that you need to allow the grout to dry before you go back and clean it off with a sponge. So we just did one wall because we didn't want it to sit for too long because then it becomes really, really tough to get the grout off of your tile. So I've got 2 buckets with water and 2 sponges, but I'm gonna go in circular motions and just scrub the surface of the backsplash to work this small area here. So I'm just continuing to work my way across these smaller areas. After I get past the faucet here though, I'm going to make sure that I clean out my water because you don't want to be rubbing dirty water on the face of your tile because then you won't be cleaning it. You can see those glass tiles becoming much less hazy. And then at the end, once everything's dry too, you go back with a microfiber towel and you'll be able to remove additional haze from those glass tiles. So don't be concerned if there's still a little bit of a haze on there. I just wrapped up sponging off the surface of the backsplash and now I'm going to let it dry for 24 hours. Once that's done, I'm gonna come back with a microfiber towel, just remove any small grout haze from those glass tiles, and then I'll be able to apply my impregnating sealer. We're back. We've allowed our grout to dry overnight and we are now going to apply our impregnator sealer. What this is going to do is it's going to prevent your grout and your stone from taking on any stains, whether that be from wine splashes or grease, from cutting up vegetables, juices and stuff. It's going to allow that stone to be well protected so it doesn't stain because the stone is porous in nature. So we were going to apply this with a microfiber towel, just like we did the other sealer, and just kind of go in circles around our backsplash. We'll allow that to sit on the tile for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back with a dry microfiber towel and wipe it clean. And then we'll wait 24 to 72 hours to allow that to fully cure. We're back after allowing our sealer to cure the allotted time, and I just wanted to quickly show you guys how to caulk the seam between your countertop and the backsplash. This is form fill color match caulk that comes with the countertop you buy. It perfectly matches the countertop you buy, so you don't have to worry about going to the store and trying to find that perfect color. It's really convenient because it comes in this easy squeeze tube, so you don't have to worry about a caulk gun. So I just cut off the tip of it with a utility knife, and I am just going to apply it left to right, just kind of pulling it towards myself. You can see I already taped off my backsplash. So I'm just going to move in here and start applying that. And then once I get that done, I will go back over with my wet finger and just smooth it out, pull off some of that extra caulk. Once we're done with that, we're just going to quickly pull the tape off after just a minute or two, just to make sure that that caulk doesn't dry on top of the tape because it'll be a lot harder to remove and then the tape can sometimes get stuck underneath it there. We finally finished up the kitchen remodel. I'm super happy with how it turned out. So we were able to get this backsplash done in a weekend. It might take a little bit longer depending on the complexity of your tile. But this remodel, we also took care of all of the flooring. We put in new countertops, a new apron front sink, and we also showed you how to paint. So check out the Menards YouTube channel for all of those how-to videos and any other ones that you might need to find. Thanks for watching and good luck with your project.